My name is Yvette Van Meter, 33 years old. People always thought I was the kind of woman who had everything under control. At work, maybe I did. I managed construction projects, handled budgets, crews, permits, delays, angry clients, and deadlines that could ruin million-dollar schedules if one person made one careless mistake. But in my personal life, I let one man slowly turn love into a performance review. His name was Ryan Mercer, my boyfriend of 3 years, and the first time he told me he had options, I should have believed him enough to leave. Instead, I stayed, because that is what people do when they mistake endurance for loyalty. Ryan worked in retail management. He made decent money, but money never stayed long in his hands. I never judged him for it at first. I was careful, maybe too careful. I had life insurance through work, a private term policy, a 401k, and a small investment account I had been building since my 20s. I was not wealthy, but I was stable. Ryan used to say he admired that about me. Later, I realized he admired it the way some people admire a locked door they intend to open. About a year into our relationship, Ryan asked me to add him as a beneficiary on my life insurance. We were not engaged. We did not live together. Still, he said it would prove I saw a future with him. I talked to my financial advisor and eventually made him secondary after my mother. Then he asked to be my emergency contact, and that seemed reasonable. He knew my medical history, my allergies, the name of my doctor. So I updated the forms at work and at the clinic. But when he asked to be added to my investment account, I said no immediately. His smile vanished. "So you trust me with your life but not your money?" he asked. I told him my retirement was not a romantic gesture. He dropped it, but not really. Some arguments end in silence, only because one person is saving the subject for later. 6 months ago, during a fight about vacation plans, Ryan wanted a resort trip I did not want to drain savings for. He leaned back and said, "You know, other women would be grateful to have a man like me, and other people would be happy to treat me better. I have options." I let it slide. 3 months ago, I missed his friend's birthday dinner because of a work emergency. Ryan said, "Maybe I should find someone who actually prioritizes me. I have options." I let that slide too. Then came the third time. His lease was ending, and he wanted to move into my condo. I told him I was not ready. I wanted counseling first, because things between us had become tense, sharp, unpredictable. He stared at me like I had insulted him. "You're never ready," he snapped. "You're always making excuses. If you don't start acting right, I have plenty of options. Do you understand me?" "Plenty." Something inside me went very still. I looked at him, calm, tired, suddenly clear. "I'm sure you do," I said. His face changed because he expected fear. He expected apology. He expected me to beg. Instead, I opened the door and said, "Maybe you should explore them." Ryan stormed out and slammed the door so hard my neighbor texted to ask if I was okay. I said yes. I was lying. That night, I did not sleep. I kept thinking about every form with his name on it. Emergency contact, beneficiary, medical authorization. The person threatening to replace me was also the person legally positioned to speak for me if I could not speak for myself. By morning, my stomach felt cold. I called HR and changed my emergency contact back to my mother. I removed Ryan from my employer life insurance. Then I called my private insurance company and did the same. I logged into my retirement and investment accounts and updated every beneficiary. After lunch, I went to my doctor's office in person and filled out new paperwork. My mother became my emergency contact. My brother became my healthcare proxy. By the end of the day, Ryan did not exist anywhere official in my life. If I ended up in a hospital, he would not be called. If I died, he would get nothing. I did not tell him. He wanted options. Quietly, I gave myself some too. For 2 weeks, we kept dating like nothing had happened. Dinner, movies, polite texts, careful smiles. Ryan probably thought I had cooled down. I had not cooled down. I had woken up. Then one morning before sunrise, my phone rang. It was Ryan's mother. Her voice was shaking. Ryan had been driving home from work when another driver ran a red light and slammed into his car. He was unconscious when the ambulance arrived. The hospital needed an emergency contact. They checked his work file and called his parents. Not me. When Ryan woke up with a concussion, a broken arm, and bruised ribs, he kept asking where I was, but no one had called me, because my name was not where he assumed it would be. And the worst part was, he still had no idea that 2 weeks earlier, I had erased him from every official piece of my future. Ryan was discharged from the hospital 10 days later and went to stay with his parents while he recovered. His apartment was on the 3rd floor, and climbing stairs with a broken arm and bruised ribs was impossible. I visited him twice. I brought homemade soup, groceries, and a charger he had forgotten in his totaled car. I kept the conversations light because there was a truth sitting between us that neither of us had touched yet. His parents thanked me politely, but his mother watched me with narrowed eyes, as if she sensed there was something neither Ryan nor I was saying. A week later, my phone rang. "Yvette," Ryan said quietly, "I need to ask you something." "Okay." "I was trying to get some paperwork from your doctor's office for an insurance question. They told me I wasn't authorized to access anything anymore." I remained silent. "When did that happen?" "A few weeks ago." Another long silence. "You removed me." "Yes, but why?" I closed my eyes before answering. "Because you told me you had plenty of options." That was an argument. It was 3 arguments. I was angry. "You said it 6 months ago. Then again 3 months later. Then again when you wanted to move in. At some point I had to believe you." His breathing became heavier. "So you removed me from everything without even telling me? You never told me you planned to threaten our relationship every time you didn't get your way." "That's different." "No, Ryan. It isn't." His voice sharpened. "What about your life insurance? What about it? Am I still on it?" "No." "My retirement accounts?" "No." "The emergency contact?" "No." There was complete silence. Then I heard him whisper almost to himself, "You actually did it." "I did. We've been together for 3 years. I know. And you erased me. You told me I was replaceable." "I never said that! You didn't have to!" Another pause. "I wasn't actually going to leave you. But you wanted me to believe you would." He had no answer. Finally he muttered, "I can't believe you'd do this. I can't believe you thought threatening me would strengthen our relationship." The line went dead. An hour later his mother called. "What have you done to my son?" I updated my personal paperwork. "He's devastated. I'm sorry he's upset." "You removed him from everything?" "Yes. Why would you punish him like this?" "I didn't punish him." "You absolutely did." "No. I protected myself. He was just trying to get you to commit." "By threatening to replace me?" She hesitated. "Ryan didn't mean those comments. He repeated them for 6 months. You're being cold. Maybe. But I'm also being honest." She hung up without another word. Over the next several days, my phone filled with messages. His sister, his best friend, 2 cousins, even an old college roommate. Every message carried the same accusation. "How could you do this while he's recovering? He's already been through enough. You broke his heart." One message actually made me laugh despite everything. His best friend accused me of being financially abusive because I removed Ryan from my insurance and retirement paperwork. Financially abusive. The phrase echoed in my apartment. We weren't married. We didn't own property together. He had absolutely no legal claim to anything I had built before meeting him. Updating beneficiaries wasn't abuse. It was paperwork. But then I learned something that changed everything. Ryan's younger sister called me one evening. "I probably shouldn't tell you this." "What?" She hesitated. "For months, Ryan has been telling everyone you two were basically engaged." I frowned. "What?" He kept saying moving in was only a formality. I never agreed to that. I know. She sounded embarrassed. He also kept saying that eventually all your accounts would become shared anyway. A cold feeling spread through my chest, so everyone thought that marriage was basically guaranteed. And if I wasn't ready, he figured you'd come around. The conversation ended shortly afterward, but I couldn't stop thinking. Ryan hadn't simply imagined a future, he had announced one to everyone, except me. Suddenly, every conversation about insurance, every discussion about moving in, every request to be added to another account, they no longer felt like isolated moments. They were pieces of the same expectation. He wasn't asking. He was following a script he believed would inevitably end with complete access to my life. And every time I slowed that process, he reminded me he had options. Not because he intended to leave, because he expected fear would make me surrender. 3 weeks after leaving the hospital, Ryan texted me. "Can we talk in person?" I agreed, mostly because I wanted answers. When I arrived, he looked different. His cast was still on. Dark circles rested beneath his eyes. He seemed smaller somehow. "I've had a lot of time to think," he said. I nodded. "I know the options comments were wrong." I waited. I was scared. Scared of what? That you'd never fully commit. So you threatened to leave. I thought it'd make you realize you could lose me. I couldn't help asking, "And were there ever other women?" His eyes widened immediately. "No. None? Never." So there were no options. He lowered his head. It was manipulation. The honesty surprised me. I learned it from my mother. I looked toward the kitchen where she couldn't hear us. She always used to tell my dad someone else would treat her better whenever they fought. He gave a weak laugh. I guess I copied what I grew up watching. For the first time in weeks, I saw genuine shame. Then he quietly asked, "So, what happens now?" I answered, honestly, "I don't know. I'll go to therapy." I stayed silent. "I mean it." He leaned forward despite the pain. "I'll do couples counseling like you suggested." I considered him for several seconds. "All right." Hope appeared across his face. "But there's one condition. Anything. I'm not putting your name back on a single document." His expression froze. "Not my insurance." Silence. "Not my retirement." More silence. "Not my emergency contact." His shoulders slowly dropped. "Not unless we're married." His eyes filled with disappointment. "So, you still don't trust me?" "No." The answer came easier than I expected. "I don't." His face tightened. "I understand why you're hurt. I am. But trust isn't rebuilt with paperwork." I stood to leave. "If we're going to fix this, you have to do it without the safety net of knowing my future is already legally tied to yours." Ryan stared at the floor for several moments. Finally, he nodded. "Okay." He sounded sincere, but something in his eyes told me the loss that haunted him most wasn't losing the paperwork. It was losing the certainty that I would always give in. We started therapy the following week. I wanted to believe people could change if they truly wanted to. Maybe Ryan's accident had forced him to look at himself differently. Maybe nearly losing everything had made him realize how close he had come to losing us, too. The first session went better than I expected. The therapist listened more than she spoke. Ryan admitted that using the word options had been manipulative. I admitted I had allowed resentment to build instead of confronting it earlier. We both left feeling cautiously hopeful. The second session was where everything unraveled. The therapist looked directly at Ryan. "Can you explain why threatening to leave someone during disagreements damages trust?" Ryan sighed. "I understand why Yvette felt hurt." The therapist waited. "But that single word made my stomach tighten. I never actually meant it." The therapist nodded. "And?" "I think she overreacted." Silence filled the room. He continued. "I wasn't cheating. I wasn't seeing anyone else. I was frustrated. removing me from every emergency contact, every insurance policy, every beneficiary. That was extreme. The therapist turned toward me. I met Ryan's eyes. So, I asked quietly, telling me I was replaceable wasn't an overreaction. He frowned. I never said you were replaceable. You said you had plenty of options. That's different. How? I was trying to push you, and I protected myself. You punished me. No. I shook my head. I updated my own legal documents. You knew it would hurt. Yes, then that's punishment. No, I answered calmly. The hurt came from losing something you thought already belonged to you. Ryan crossed his arms. I think you took everything way too personally. The therapist attempted to redirect the conversation. What do both of you need moving forward? Ryan answered first. I need her to trust me again. Then she looked at me. I need him to understand why I stopped trusting him. Ryan immediately interrupted. I already said I was sorry. I looked at him for a long moment. No, I said softly. You're sorry. There were consequences. His expression hardened. That's not fair. It is. The rest of the session became a conversation where we spoke the same language, but somehow understood completely different meanings. After the third appointment, I sat alone in my car for nearly 20 minutes. I wasn't angry anymore. That surprised me. I simply felt tired. Not the kind of tired sleep fixes. The kind that comes from carrying hope long after it has stopped carrying you. That evening I called Ryan. He answered on the second ring. Hey, I've been thinking. So have I. I don't think this is working. You mean therapy? No. A long silence. You mean us? Yes. Another silence. Even longer this time. So you're breaking up with me? I am. Because of paperwork? I closed my eyes. No. Then why? Because the paperwork was never the real issue. He didn't speak. You see relationships as negotiations. That's not true. When things don't go your way, you create pressure. I was insecure. And instead of telling me that, you threatened to replace me. I never would have. But you wanted me to believe you would. His breathing became uneven. I loved you. I believe you did. Then why are you doing this? Because love isn't enough when respect keeps disappearing. His voice cracked. My arm isn't even healed. I know. The timing couldn't be worse. I know. You couldn't wait? I swallowed before answering. If I waited until life became convenient, I'd never leave. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he whispered. So, that's really it? I remembered the sentence that had haunted me for months. You told me you had options. Another pause. I'm giving you the chance to find them. He started crying quietly. For a moment, every instinct inside me wanted to comfort him. Instead, I whispered goodbye and ended the call. The breakup was painful but surprisingly simple. We had never combined finances, never shared property, never signed leases together. The only thing we truly owned together was history. History doesn't require lawyers to divide. Within a week, Ryan posted several vague messages online about surviving people who punish emotions and weaponize love. Friends sent me screenshots. I ignored everyone. I had no interest in defending myself inside someone else's version of the story. A few days later, Ryan's mother called. I let it ring until voicemail. She left a message accusing me of traumatizing her son and insisting I would regret pushing away someone who loved me. I deleted the voicemail before reaching the end. Then something unexpected happened. Ryan's father texted me. We had barely spoken during 3 years together. He was always quiet while his wife filled every room with opinions. His message was short. I heard what happened. A few seconds later, another appeared. For what it's worth, I understand your decision. Then one final message. Ryan learned those tactics by watching his mother use them on me for 25 years. I should have stopped teaching him that love works through fear. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for having boundaries. I stared at the screen for several minutes. Finally, I replied, "Thank you. I truly appreciate your honesty." He never answered. He didn't need to. Months have passed now. Life is quieter. Not lonely. Peaceful. I wake up, go to work, manage projects, cook dinner, read before bed, and sleep without wondering when the next argument will begin. Sometimes silence feels strange after years of emotional storms. Then I remember something. Silence isn't emptiness. Sometimes it's safety. I updated my paperwork one last time. My mother remains my primary emergency contact. My younger brother is listed second. Everything is exactly where it belongs. My mom asked about Ryan during one of our Sunday phone calls. When I told her we'd ended things, she sighed. "I'm sorry." Then she smiled gently, but not very sorry. "You noticed?" Mothers always notice. I laughed for the first time in weeks. "I'm not rushing into another relationship," I told her. "I think I'm going to try therapy on my own." "That's probably a good idea." She was right. I wanted to understand why I had accepted emotional manipulation for so long, why I had mistaken anxiety for commitment, why I believed proving my love over and over was normal. Maybe those answers will take time. Maybe they won't. But I know one thing with absolute certainty now. The right partner will never make you compete against imaginary options. The right partner won't demand access to your future while threatening to walk away from your present. Sometimes the healthiest relationship you'll ever build is the one you finally choose to have with yourself. And for the first time in years, my life, my future, and yes, my paperwork all belong exactly where they should.